Hi, I'm Kesenya and it's so lovely to be back with you on the Astrology channel. I've been away for a few weeks as I've been quite ill, which occurred for me around the time of the eclipse, and I thought I might go into a bit of an explanation of what has unfolded for me, as it's really, I'm hoping you'll find it quite insightful and helpful yourself into understanding the activity of eclipses, how it can play out in your own life, and also how whole sign astrology works and how I therefore use my wheel to explain astrology. But before I go into that, I'd like to say a big, massive, heartfelt thank you to all my gorgeous clients, my beautiful clients who have been patient with me while I've been unwell, who have sent me words of encouragement and appreciation. So thank you. God bless every one of you. And I do hope for those of you who received a reading from me while I was unwell that you enjoy the free gift that was sent along as a thank you for enduring my coughing and my very difficult state of physical being. Thank you for putting up with that. As such, I also want to just let people know, if they're watching this video, I'm still not back to my old self, and I might cough a bit through this video, so bear with me if I have a coughing spasm, and thank you for your patience. So, excuse me, what happened to me at the eclipse, like I said, it will illustrate firstly how eclipses work, and secondly, how whole sign astrology works. So let's take a look. I want to set up what my chart was looking like at the eclipses in January, particularly the second eclipse around the 21st to the 22nd of January. So this is where the nodes were. The nodes were at 26 degrees of Cancer and 26 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury was up here at 25 degrees of Capricorn, conjunct with the south node of the moon. This is where my natal sun sits. So I've got this little, it's actually a guitar tab. I've nicked off my son. He doesn't know. But that's going to illustrate for us where my natal sun is in the chart. And as I am Pisces rising over here, in whole sign astrology, wherever your ascendant falls, that is your first house. This is whole sign astrology. So my ascendant falls in the sign of Pisces. Therefore, this is my first house. Aries is my second house. Taurus is my third. Gemini, my fourth, etc. On and on around the horoscope. Pardon me. So with Pisces rising, ascendant in Pisces, first house is Pisces, this makes Leo, where my sun sits, my sixth house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The sun also rules Leo, therefore it rules my sixth house. Sixth house things are health and well-being. It's also daily work, daily routines, what we do to pay the bills and get by in life. And it also is to do with subordinates, people who are lower than us on the social structure of things, and how we can serve is also seen from the sixth house in astrology. So this is the setup for the eclipse, and then along comes on the 21st and 22nd, depending where you are in the world, along comes the moon. Let's put it here, at 0 degrees of Leo, opposite the sun at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Pardon me. So you can see that the eclipse, my sun's at 2 degrees of Leo, so the eclipse was falling within 2 degrees of my natal sun position, the sun, the very personal planet that rules my sixth house of health and well-being. So along comes the eclipse falling on this very personal planet. So for me, how this manifested, because the eclipse took place on a personal planet, the sun, it was always going to impact me in some way that I would notice, that I would feel, that would be very almost tangible in our third dimensional reality. Now, scooch back to July 2018, and the eclipses there also took place very near to my sun. And what happened was that and you've heard me talk about this in previous videos, I lost my daily job, what I was doing to pay the bills. It wasn't my passion, but it was a job that paid the bills, that supported my life, that I worked hard in. 6th house things. And when that eclipse occurred, I lost my job. So something with an eclipse will either be swept away to make space for something new and more authentic to enter your life, or something will enter into your life to lift you to the next level of authenticity. That's what happens with eclipses. So in the July eclipse that happened at this same position, around about, I lost my everyday job. This time I knew it was going to be occurring on my sun again, so it would be impactful, but eclipses are almost impossible to predict to the exact. So I really didn't know whether it was going to impact my daily routine, whether it might impact people that I served in my life, or whether it would impact my health, or maybe even more 11th house, 5th house things in my life, because that's where the nodes were. So it could have played out in any of those arenas. But what happened for me in this eclipse was that I got the lurgy, very sick. Health is ruled by my sun in the 6th house of health and well-being. So the eclipse occurred at the time of the eclipse. I came down very sick with a cold or a flu. But then eclipses tend to play out over a 6-month period, that we see the results of the eclipses or the impact of the eclipses playing out. And this illness triggered in me asthmatic reaction, which I haven't had since I was in primary school. And so according to my doctor, it's going to take 6 months or so of care for myself to rebuild the health of my lungs up again to what they were before. So again, we see the 6th house influence playing out from the eclipse over the coming 6-month period, which is how eclipses work. You can get an impactful event such as a job loss or gaining a new job. It doesn't have to always be loss, such as a health impact like what I've had, that then is playing, the impact of which will play out over the ensuing 6 months. Now, what is interesting with this eclipse was that Mercury was involved. Mercury rules the lungs in health in our body. Mercury rules the lungs, and so that is what's been impacted. And as you can see, Mercury was forming part of this eclipse, so it's my lungs that have been impacted. As you can see, the result of this eclipse was an infection. It was also unexpected. This is because Uranus, the planet of the unexpected, was sitting here at the final degrees of Aries, which squares the final degrees of Capricorn, and which squares the final degrees of Cancer, where all this activity was taking place. So, an unexpected infection, excuse me, that at the time of the eclipse resulted in this 6-month period that I am now going to be working on, rebuilding my health again, back to its full capacity. So what happened for you at the time of the eclipse? You might like to leave a comment in the comments section and share what's played out for you from the January eclipses in your life. But you can also see through this how many variables there are with eclipses, how difficult it is to actually pinpoint exactly where the event is likely to manifest. We can say a few general ideas, but it is quite difficult to pinpoint exactly what the eclipse is going to do in our lives. But we always know that it's going to be about removing what isn't working so that we can up level in our life, or bringing in something into our lives that will help us up level. So in this instance, I mean, the sun, it rules the heart and it rules the spine. I could have had a heart attack. I could have had some sort of issue with my spine, because these are the things that also rule. The sun rules in the house of health and well-being. So it could have played out that way for me. The sixth house is our everyday work. Mercury is a planet connected with advertising, writing, speaking, communicating. So there could have been results I'm so sorry, in that arena of everyday work connected to writing, speaking, communicating that were impacted because of Mercury's involvement. Mercury is also small business. So he's sitting up there in my, if I was Pisces, or if you're Pisces rising, as I am, it's in my 11th house of rewards for the work we've put in. There could have been something positive that came into my life. Rewards for the work that I've put in the past into my life. It could have come in, it could have manifested in that way. So it's like I said, there's many different dynamics that could have played out with this eclipse in my life. But eclipses, just to repeat, they'll remove something that's not working in our lives in order to make space for the new to enter in. Or if we are ready, if we are prepared, it will bring in the new change that we need to up level and evolve through our incarnation this lifetime. So what this has done for me, I don't see it, I mean, I hate being sick, we all do, but what this has done for me, it's forced me to stop, to slow down, to focus on exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, and to come at it from a much more heartfelt perspective, to really take the time to engage with what my clients need, instead of trying to just punch out reading after reading. You know, I've slowed down and I've got back into the spiritual side of astrology. Whereas before I was gung-ho, doing the work, doing the service. That is very sixth house. It's about work, service, keep at it, the detail, blah, blah, blah. Rather than seeing the big picture, rather than remembering, why am I doing this for? So this period of ill health has been a reminder to me of why I'm doing astrology. It's given me a chance to prioritize my life and restructure, if you like, because Saturn's been involved in this eclipse, restructure my whole work life that now serves me well and supports me well as will benefit my clients, because I'm coming from a much more grounded, energetic perspective than I was prior to getting ill. So it's brought a new peace to my heart, a new attitude to my everyday routine. So I'm grateful. You know, it's not always easy, this up-leveling process, this refinement process that we're going through in life. And nobody said it was going to be a walk in the park, but I embrace with gratitude what this period is now teaching me. So what is now coming up for us in this week ahead? And it's a lovely week that's coming up with some really interesting energies. We're going to look at two of those energies now, and then we're going to walk through what the impact of one of those particular energies is going to be for each sign. So on the 13th and 14th of February, we have this particular impactful conjunction that happens roughly every 2 years between Uranus and Mars. And this is all happening in the sign of Aries, which is quite obviously, if you know your astrology, the sign that is ruled by Mars. So Mars is in great power at the moment, great dignity. And Uranus is at the final degrees of Aries. He's making his last hurrah, giving his last bit of impact to whatever the sign of Aries happens to rule in your chart, before on the 6th of March he moves into the sign of Taurus. So these two planets will be connecting excuse me, at the final degree of Aries, the 29th degree, on the 13th and 14th of February. And the final degree of any sign is always a very powerful degree, as are the first degrees of a sign. The first 3 degrees of a sign, the last 3 degrees of a sign usually pack an impactful punch, because the planets, like I said, are giving their last hurrah, making their presence known before they move into new territory. So here we have Mars and Uranus. Now, what is this going to bring us? Well, there's going to be a big thrust that happens in your life regarding a desire to change any limitations in your world. So, for example, you might have felt frustrated recently, and certainly when you've got a planet like Uranus at the final degrees of a sign, there is a feeling of frustration regarding wherever that happens to be. Just say if you were Pisces rising like me, it's in the house of resources. So you can feel frustrated about your income, frustrated about your resources, frustrated about your tangible physical manifestation situation in life, the resources that you have or that you lack. And when you've got planets at the final degrees, you feel the tension and the frustration of limitations about that particular house. And so you're going to have this energetic thrust when Uranus and Mars combine to do something towards changing the limitations that you are feeling in your life. And we'll talk a little later about where that will be playing out for everybody. So that's one of the energies, a thrust towards changing the limitations in your life. There's going to be a big energy boost. Now, these are both quick energies. Mars is very youthful, very invigorated, very let's go. And Uranus is sudden electrical impulses that come bang out of the blue. So you are going to experience a big, powerful, like thunderclap energy boost through these 2 days. You'll get really charged up about something in your life. There will be a spontaneous energy. Uranus is spontaneous, it's out of the blue, it's light bulb moments, it's invigoration. So you'll get this, Mars is energy, so the combo of the two is a spontaneous, sudden, impactful energy. You might get sudden, unexpected desires that you notice within you. Mars is the planet of desire, passion, sexuality. You might discover this kinky side to you comes out. Uranus is very quirky, very eccentric. So when you combine the two, there are unexpected sexual desires or impulses. There are unexpected or quirky or unusual passions or enthusiasms that bubble up in you that you might not have even given credence to prior to this connection. So that's going to be felt as well. And depending on what Mars rules in your chart, you might generally feel a bit more quirky, a bit more eccentric, a bit more crazy. For example, if it happens to rule the first house, which in this case, if you are Aries rising, it's happening in your first house and Mars rules your first house. This makes it a very important planetary transit for you, Aries rising. And it is the house of the body. So your presentation is going to be at this time more quirky, more eccentric, more crazy even. You might pull out those pair of irregular choice shoes. If you're a fashion watcher, you'll know what brand that is and how eccentric and gorgeous and utterly creative those shoes are. And you might just get the impulse on the 13th and 14th of February to wear those irregular choice shoes to work, really quirky attitude towards your presentation and your image on this day. So at the end of this video, we're going to go through what this will look like for all the signs. But in general, you're going to crave excitement. You're going to crave a break from the ordinary, mundane life. You're going to want an injection of invigoration in your life with this particular transit that's going to last for roughly 2 days before Mars then changes signs and moves into Taurus. So this is exciting. It's an energy to look forward to, especially as it's happening on Valentine's Day. With this energy, who knows, you might get a sudden passion, desire, or even new opportunity for relationship enter into your life. But that would depend very much on what is happening in your natal chart and the connections that these two planets would be making through their transit with your natal planets. If you get an astrology reading, or if you use Lada's wonderful new transit calculator, you might get an insight as to whether the potential for a Valentine's Day new love to enter your life is on the cards for you. But the other energy, this one is playing out on the 18th of February. This energy is not quite so dynamic, shall we say? I mean, it's a dynamic energy, but it's not quite so joyful, perhaps is the word I'm looking for. This is Venus connecting at the same degree as Saturn. Now, this is a really interesting connection, and it happens roughly once a year, so it's not an unusual connection, and we can see it. I see it quite a bit in my readings for clients who have this connection. So I'm going to look at what it means to have this transit occurring, and I'm also going to look at what it means to have this in your natal chart. It's a position dear to my heart because I have it in mine, so I can talk about it with experience. I'm sorry. So let's talk about the transit. Well, Venus is relationships and Saturn is karma. They're the general big themes of these planets. And we're going to be called on this day, the 18th of February, to address karma in relationships, to look at our relationship baggage. You know, we're going to have to, you know, it'll come up for us in some way, shape or form, where we're going to be like, okay, I always have this repeating pattern with relationships. Why does this always happen to me? And you'll be forced to address it. Now, that might come through a wonderful experience that enters into your life, depending on the quality of relationships in your natal chart, or it could happen through a challenging situation. So, you know, you might have an instance with, say, a situation of unrequited love that arises in your life yet again. And it's like, why do I always have these experiences of falling in love with men who are unavailable or women who treat me like crap? You know, you will have to readdress why you keep attracting these karmic loops with relationships into your life. It'll be important on the 18th of February for you to address those things. Or you might have a situation that's more positive, where, you know, your partner brings home a big bunch of flowers, or your husband takes you out for dinner, or somebody you know, does something loving and kind towards you, and you can celebrate the goodness of your or the fortunate situation of your natal chart wiring, which is more positive with relationships. But you're going to be forced to address issues in relationship, good or bad, shadow or light. There's shadow and light in every aspect of the horoscope, and every planet and every sign and every house. But the emphasis on this day is going to be addressing the karma of our relationships. Now, it is a day when delays might be felt with regard to Venusian things. Saturn is blockage and restriction, patience, waiting, delays. And so there might be some delay regarding love, regarding romance, regarding pleasure or money. These are the things that Venus in general rules. So if you've been waiting for a text from that guy you dated last Saturday, well, just know that on the 18th, you might just have to wait for a bit longer. You know, it mightn't come through. You might have been waiting to hear about a job that you'd applied for and getting that pay rise. Money is Venus. Excuse me. You might just have to wait a little longer to receive the news that you're hoping for. So this is another component of Venus-Saturn, where you have to wait for the results of Venus. They're not going to just come quickly. There can also be a blockage. Saturn is blockage as well as restriction. And there can be a blockage of your ability to show love and affection, or receive love and affection at this time, because love and affection are seen by Venus in the chart. And when we've got this transit occurring, well, we can generally feel like love and affection is being blocked in our lives, very generally. Again, whatever is happening in your natal chart is very important to consider. So this may not play out for everybody. But if you're somebody like me who has this position natally in your chart, then it would be fair to say that the double energy, if you like, of Saturn conjunct with Venus on this day, I've got it in my natal chart, it'll be happening in the transiting chart as well. This double energy is going to mean a blockage of the ability to give and receive love in life in some way, shape or form. So let's talk about what it means to have this Venus-Saturn conjunction natally in the chart, because it is one of the more difficult components in a chart, especially in our Western society where there is so much, well, all societies really, but Western society emphasizes falling in love, having romance. You know, our relationships are no longer what they were all about 200 years ago, when it was all about marrying for financial stability, or in case of kings and queens, getting married to unite kingdoms. And, you know, the love didn't factor into relationships the way it does these days about 200 years ago in Western society. And then along came the romantic movement, and we developed these books and these films and this expectation in our society that we will fall in love and it will last forever and it will be magical and it will be beautiful. And we've got this really rather false impression of what love and romance should be about. And so with this expectation of what love looks like in current romantic Western society, the Saturn-Venus conjunction is like a kick in the guts because it doesn't fit that romantic ideal. Why is that? Now, if you know your chart, if you've got this position, you'll probably be able to identify with what I'm going to talk about here. But this position indicates that relationships can be delayed. Saturn makes us wait. So they can be delayed in life, or they can be painful depending on the dignity of Saturn and Venus. Or they can be, your life can be full of unrequited love, love that isn't reciprocated, blocked love. Saturn is impacting that Venus. It is blocking what Venus usually is all about: love, romance, pleasure. And so you can have to wait in life until you're much older, when you've got this in your natal chart, for love and romance to truly enter your life. It can mean that relationships are, like I described, painful. You can feel a bit awkward with regard to love in your life. There's a feeling as well of unworthiness in love, because Venus rules our sense of self-worth and self-value. And when our sense of self-worth and self-value is being blocked by Saturn, restricted by Saturn, then in love we can feel unworthy. We can feel that we don't deserve. And this might be a karmic response to maybe a past life that you've had where you were indoctrinated through some sort of circumstance that you weren't worthy. And now your duty in this life is to overcome that indoctrination from either childhood or a past life. Saturn is karma, the results of our previous incarnations. So this is one of the challenges of Venus-Saturn, to overcome this unworthiness that is sort of deep within our subconscious, usually from a past life incarnation. There's a need, when you've got this in the natal chart, to be constantly reassured that you are loved, because you doubt it. You know, you have a fear of losing love and a fear of not being loved. Saturn is fear, Venus is love. There's the mix of the two together. And so there is, this need for constant reassurance in love from a partner. It makes us fragile in love, a bit scared of losing love, fearful, and awkward and lame with regard to relationships, where we don't initiate love because we're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of the unrequited love. So we tend to, when we've got this configuration in the chart, we tend to stand off to the side and observe in a detached way, very Saturn, love, rather than make the move a bit to initiate love in our life, because there is that feeling of awkwardness and lameness, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how to manifest love in my life. It's also a signature for overgiving in all areas of life, you know. So this can be overgiving at work, overgiving to children, overgiving to partners, because there is this struggle that we have to receive in return. We try and give more because we feel the difficulty in receiving love. So like we might undercharge for our services if we run a business, or if we're a consultant, or if we work for someone, we might devalue what we should really be getting. Or in my case, you know, I'm always going way over time with my readings, because I feel like I have to give more, to give more, to give more, because what I give is not enough. And that is a result of my Saturn-Venus conjunction. It feels like I have to give over and above, because we have this awkwardness with this placement around giving and receiving. There's also a feeling of being starved for affection with this placement, as I said, with the transit that plays out, but it's also there on a more regular basis when we've got this in the natal chart. We're afraid of being hurt, like I said, and so we build walls of protection from this fear of being hurt because of this. It's also an indicator that work will come before pleasure. So, you know, and I catch myself saying this to my children all the time. It's probably wise advice, but just the same, it's a result of this placement. Do your homework, clean your rooms, do your chores, and then you can relax and enjoy your pleasures. But you do the work first, you know, and I'm trying to get them into good habits. Seems to be working, but that is a result of Venus-Saturn, because work is the priority before pleasure. And if you're someone who's extraordinarily driven, then you don't allow yourself the time that you need to have pleasure, to have downtime, to relax. And then you end up sick from an eclipse transit. So, you know, if you have this in your natal chart, or if you are currently pregnant and expecting to deliver your baby around the 18th of February, and they're going to have this in their chart, you'll know how to help them. And the remedies for this, or the support that we can offer to people we know and love with this placement, or if we've got it ourselves, are to first accept that this is the wiring that is in our chart. It's just the way we are. There's nothing we can do about it. You know, I'm awkward, I'm lame in relationships. I overgive, that's just who I am. I put work before pleasure, that's just who I am. I just have to accept it. Acceptance is always the key to dealing with your Saturn. A focus on our career and worldly success is also an antidote to this, because Saturn represents our worldly achievements. It's connected, he rules by general association the 10th house of the legacy we hope to leave, the worldly achievements that we are striving towards. And so if we focus on our worldly achievements, our career aspirations, and the legacy we want to leave the world, then this can kind of release the tension of this particular configuration in the chart. So that if you focus on your career, your worldly achievement and aspirations before love, make that more your priority than finding love in your life, then you will empower this aspect, and it's much more likely to manifest a relationship for you than if you are constantly searching, seeking, longing for love that just doesn't come. You know, you end up leading a lesser life if that's your focus when you've got this configuration in the chart. Now, the other thing is to really work hard. This is Saturn. Saturn is hard work. at growing your self-esteem, at honoring yourself, at working on ways to develop your self-assertion and your sense of self-value. So, you know, reading books, doing courses, connecting with people who build you up rather than tear you down, having a circle of friends that is supportive, that have got your back, and being in a work environment that affirms you, that honors you, that doesn't criticize you. This is very important for people with this placement. People with this placement can be very, very sensitive to personal criticism because their Venus sense of self-worth is so vulnerable. Which is often why I don't read the comments in the comments section on my video, for that very reason. So forgive me if I don't always comment on your beautiful comments, because sometimes simply to protect my Venus, I don't read the comments in my videos. So if you've got this in your chart, if you're having a baby with this placement on and around the 18th, or in a lesser degree, if you're going through this transit, as we all will be, on the 18th, then these are some of the issues that are pertinent. And the one thing I truly love about astrology, is that it gives us compassion for ourselves and our struggles, and it also allows us compassion for other people and less judgment towards other people. If you see somebody at a party and they're looking awkward and lame and feeling out of place in the corner of the room, have compassion on them, because they may very well have this configuration in their chart which makes it really difficult for them to approach people and instigate, I mean not people in general, but to instigate a romantic tete-a-tete with somebody. And, you know, have compassion for everybody's journey. That's what astrology really is a gift to humanity. One of the gifts of astrology to humanity is the compassion that we can garner for one another and our life journeys. So they are the two energies that are going to be most predominant for us this week in the skies. Let's take a look at what this Mars and Uranus conjunction is going to bring us. Okay, if we are Aries rising, well, as I said, this is taking place in your first house in whole sign astrology. So again, for those who missed the bit at the start, if your rising ascendant degree happens to fall in Aries, this makes Aries your first house in whole sign astrology. Taurus is your second, Gemini your third, and so on around the horoscope. So Aries rising people means that this energy of Mars and Uranus, which I described earlier in the video what it would be bringing, it's going to make this period, these 2 days of your life, the dates that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, are days when you're going to feel more quirky, more crazy, a bit more kooky about your personal self-expression, how you dress, how you present to the world, how you do your hair, how you do your makeup, what shoes you wear. You're going to be a bit more energized about being individual, about being eccentric in your presentation to the world through your physical presence. There's going to be more of an invigorated energy around survival. You're going to get ideas and quirky, innovations, light bulb moments about ways you can survive and thrive, because the first house is the house of survival, what we need to do to stay alive. So you might get new ideas regarding income sources, or regarding circumstances in your life that are going to enable you to thrive better, such as where you live, who you're interacting with, what your daily job is. Every facet of life is connected to our ability to survive and thrive. So you're going to get innovative ideas regarding your ability to survive and thrive in the best possible capacity. There's also going to be a change that you might feel to any limitations that you experience in your physical world or with your physical body. So, you might feel that your body's journey has been limited by the house that you're living in. And so you get the impetus on this day to think, right, I'm going to change where I live, because you know what? Traveling an hour and a half into work and then an hour and a half home every day is killing me. It is thwarting my ability to thrive and survive in a dynamic way. So I'm going to change that. So you're going to change the limitations that are on your physical body and your physical experience of life. What you are doing to live, thrive and survive in the world is going to be, you're going to be invigorated towards liberating change if you are Aries rising. So it could play out in a number of these different ways. If you are Taurus rising, well, this makes the energy of Aries, Aries is going to be your 12th house. So there's going to be a change to any limitations in your spiritual life through this connection, this conjunction. And so your spiritual life will get some light bulb moments. You'll have karmic insights. You will have sort of flashes of revelation that come from the subconscious on these 2 days that I mentioned at the beginning of the video when I described the impact of this energy. So you're going to get light bulb moments. You're going to get spiritual psychic downloads on this day. There'll be changes to any limitations to your spirituality as well. So if you felt blocked spiritually, like, you know, your prayers just are hitting the ceiling, or when you meditate, your mind just can't, you know, settle. Well, this energy probably isn't going to help your mind settle, but you might feel more, you might experience more visualizations, more dreams, more imaginative connections to divine realms through this transit. So the limitations that you may have been experiencing spiritually are now going to be lifted or revolutionized and changed. There's going to be an energy boost towards healing. This is 12th house is a house of divine healing. So you might get invigorated with, you know, ideas of how you can heal. I mean, Uranus is connected to energy healing. It's a planet that is about energy, and especially like the electrical impulses in our nervous system and in our body. So you might be able to heal through some energy work on these days that we really empowered and invigorated for you. So it's a great day if you are a Taurus rising person to book in and have some Reiki, or to get some psychic surgery done. See somebody who does that sort of energy work. It's also probably you're going to be invigorated with anything to do with you know, have some energy around anything that's Uranian and also connected to the psychic realm, such as understanding astrology, having psychic downloads, doing energy work, practicing these things yourself, and understanding the occult even too. You might have an eccentric approach to spirituality and to creativity. This is the house, excuse me, the house of divine creativity is the 12th house. So you might have a very quirky approach to painting, writing, music, art, sculpture, anything that is divinely inspired. Creativity will become, you know, extra fantasy-like, extra idealistic, extra visionary and forward-thinking at this time. And there's going to be a 12th house breaking away from the ordinary. So perhaps you have this ordinary routine with your spirituality where, you know, you get up and you pray and or meditate and then go to work. And it's like, well, when these 2 days occur with this conjunction very powerfully at 29 degrees of Aries, you will break away from the ordinary spiritual routine that you have, or the ordinary creative routine that you have, and you will be more inclined to do something really kooky. You know, maybe you think, okay, I'm going down to the Tai Chi session down at the lake at 6 o'clock in the morning that they have in town, and you do something that's really out of your ordinary spiritual routine, and you go and do yoga or Tai Chi, or join some sort of, you know, class or practice that's not your usual style. So very invigorated spiritual energy for Taurus rising people. Gemini rising people will see Mars conjunct Uranus in the 11th house. So this is going to be a change of limitations regarding friendship circles. regarding networks. So you might have, if you've been feeling any blockage in that realm of your life recently, this can be a day of sudden breakthroughs where suddenly, maybe you've been trying to integrate with certain influential networks or clubs. This day can bring you the manifestation of, like, you might actually be able to join that club. You might actually connect with those people that you want to network with. So it can be a day of great breaking of boundaries, breaking of limitations, which is what Uranus does. And Mars is going to give the energized boost to that regarding networks, friendships, social groups. Also change of limitations regarding your ability to receive rewards and gains as well on these 2 days that I mentioned at the beginning of the video when I went into what the dynamic outcome of Mars Uranus is going to be. So you will get an energy boost, a spontaneous invigoration regarding these things. You'll be more enthusiastic about connecting with friendship groups, networks, clubs. You'll be more enthused about getting rewards. So you'll put in for that raise. You'll put in for that promotion. You'll put your hand up to enter that workplace competition to receive some accolades. So there, whatever area you have aspirations in life to achieve in, you can have more energy towards receiving some results in that area of life. You might even have an eccentric approach to your achievements as well, and you might come at things from a left of center perspective that you wouldn't ordinarily think of. So instead of going to the boss and saying, hey, I'd really like a raise on this day, maybe you approach it from a different angle, a different direction. Maybe you instead of going person to person, you write a recommendation or a letter of request that you give to all your managers instead of just your team leader. You go to your team leader, and then you also go to the department manager and so on. And so you take a different approach to how you receive rewards and gains, or your request for rewards and gains in life. Or there's a more eccentric approach to collaborating in the circles that you move in. I heard a wonderful story yesterday, actually, about a young girl in grade 6 who was going for a house captain position. So she was seeking an 11th house reward and recognition from her peers and friendship and social network groups. So her presentation for why she should be house captain at school was a rap that she had written with her father. So she really embraced this kind of energy. Uranus conjunct Mars, quirky, innovative, creative energy about approaching rewards and gains, seeking recognition from peers and acceptance from peers. She did in a really quirky way. So it's a beautiful example, breaking away from the ordinary type approach with regards to all these 11th house things. Cancer. Cancer rising, gorgeous Cancer rising people. I'm so sorry about my coughing, everybody. Uranus conjunct Mars is in the 10th house for Cancer rising people. And on these 2 days that I spoke of at the beginning of the video, these 2 days are going to manifest a change in limitations regarding your worldly aspirations, which can be through the realm of career, but it also can be through the legacy you're wanting to leave the world, whether that's to write a book, to leave a great work of art, to write an album, whatever your worldly aspiration is the 10th house, the legacy you want to leave in the world. So there's going to be a breaking of limitations that is possible on these 2 days. You might get, if you're wanting to leave that wonderful musical album, you might get the chance to utilize a piece of recording equipment, or Uranus rules electronics and devices. You might get the chance to use a particular recording piece of recording equipment that allows you to manifest your dream more, that allows you to produce that album more. So that there's going to be a breaking of the things that have been holding you back and limiting you with regard to what you want to achieve career-wise in the world. You're going to have more energy, more enthusiasm, more dynamism, regarding your 10th house things, because Mars is a planet of energy. He's in the sign of Aries that he rules with, which is your 10th house by transit at the moment. And so your energy is going to be more spontaneous, nature of Uranus, and you're going to be more charged up energetically towards achieving your goals and dreams and the legacy you want to leave the world. You're going to be more eccentric in your approach to things. So you might actually have a really quirky, kooky, creative idea about how you can achieve. So you know, say you're producing an album, or you long to produce an album, and you know, you get this creative idea. Well, like say Brian Wilson recording his Pet Sounds album back in the 60s. What if I incorporated barking dogs into the music? And what if there was a theremin, the crazy instrument in the song Good Vibrations? What if we used that? You'll have more creative genius regarding how you put together your worldly aspirations, career, legacy, whatever it is that you want to, the impact that you want to leave on the world. You'll be more kooky about it, more eccentric about it, more innovative and visionary. And there will be a breaking away from the ordinary. So maybe you've thought your life plan to achieve what you want to achieve must look like this. Well, on these 2 days of this transit, you might get a light bulb moment that allows you to see a new direction, a new vision, a new way of achieving what you want to achieve that you mightn't have even thought before. It might illuminate the left of center way for you to get where you want to go in the world. So Leo rising people, well, this is going to see the energy take place in the 9th house. So the 9th house is going to trine Leo, so it's trining the ascendant in this case, making a lovely angle there. So that's a beautiful energy, firstly, that's taking place for Leo people on these 2 days. I talked about the energy in general of this transit at the beginning of this video. But for Leo rising people, this is going to be changing limitations with which have regard to 9th house things. So there might have been blockages or limitations that you might have been experiencing regarding higher learning, or regarding travel, or connection to people who inspire, uplift, and people who've got our backs in life. Benefactors are seen from the 9th house. So there might be, if there've been limitations, just say, you know, you've wanted to go overseas. Say you wanted to go and join LADA in Bulgaria in June, and there've been limitations around that, and sort of things that have been holding you back. Well, this conjunction of Uranus and Mars in the sign of Aries can bring you the opportunity to break those limitations, that suddenly everything falls into place. You can afford that ticket, you buy that ticket, you book that hotel, you arrange for that car hire, and you're away and running with the ability to go overseas and experience other cultures and connect with people for the purposes of higher learning. Very 9th house. Soul expansion, etc. So there's going to be a breaking of limitations, a changing of any limitations that are on your life in these realms. You're also going to be more energized about these things, more enthusiastic, more geared up. You'll get spontaneous ideas for how to work with these energies. So just say you did want to join LADA, you'll get innovative ideas for, right, how I can make this happen. I know what I need to do. I need to put this together, and you'll be energized towards doing that, towards putting this activity into place. You might even have an eccentric approach. This is very Uranian to have an eccentric approach, and Mars is going to energize this Uranian capacity. An eccentric approach to higher learning. So, you know, you might have been someone who's felt they've always got to do, you know, they've got to get a certificate, they've got to get the piece of paper for their degree. And then along comes this energy, and you are shown a new unusual way to achieve what you want that's perhaps not the conventional means. You know, maybe you don't have to go and do that university course. Maybe you can do some online study, or maybe you can connect with a mentor and do kind of an apprenticeship program instead of having to go down the traditional well-beaten path. You will get a visionary, quirky, unusual, innovative idea towards higher learning or soul expansion, or through some sort of connection with an inspirational figure or benefactor. There will be excuse me, a breaking away from the ordinary, with regard to the way you are doing things regarding your learning. So you're going to be inspired on this day. It's a very inspirational configuration, Mars conjunct Uranus, to break you away from your expectations of what higher learning looks like, of what immersion in other cultures looks like, of what what it looks like to be held in the embrace of a benefactor. You know, you probably have a vision of what it looks like to be supported in life. Oh, that means they'll give me money, they'll be a backer. And then you get this light bulb moment, this insight, this invigoration, and you break away from those well-beaten mental paths of what things should look like, and you realize, you know, the support of a benefactor can be on a spiritual level, or it could be on a psychic level, or it could be on a prayer level, rather than necessarily a material level all the time. Support from benefactors can take on a whole new look. So you are going to break away from mental patterns that you might currently have regarding these areas ruled by the 9th house. Sorry. For Virgo rising people, this is going to see a change regarding 8th house things. There's going to be change to any limitations in 8th house areas of life. If you've been dealing with a situation, say a will, or some kind of a inheritance, or superannuation fund, or receipt of some sort of money, this can be the change of the limitations that might be sitting there. So let's say it's some sort of communal property that you're going to be involved in, or a will that you're going to receive, an inheritance that you're going to receive, and there's been a block there and a limitation to it coming through. This day can see those limitations broken. Also, any limitations with regard to connection to subconscious realms, releasing hidden things like skeletons in the closet in our life. If you've been keeping things subdued, a very 8th house to keep things hidden, like I said, the skeletons in the closet. Along comes energy of Mars conjunct Uranus, and you are those limitations, those sort of, I'm keeping that skeleton in the closet, it's broken free, it's liberated, it's released from the closet, and you're set free, because the energy of Uranus is to liberate. So you can be liberated from whatever's in your whatever skeletons are in your closet, because Mars will energize and invigorate what Uranus is here to do, which is liberate you, set you free. So it's a very transformative period for Virgo rising people. This is the house of transformation. This is the house of metaphoric death and rebirth. So limitations around transforming, limitations around being reborn and renewed are going to be broken on these 2 days. It'll probably be the beginning of a long process, but it'll happen bang, quite suddenly, unexpectedly, like out of the blue. Mars conjunct Uranus is like that. The energy is going to be spontaneous. It's going to be amped up and turbocharged. So the capacity to transform and change, or to really set your feet on a path of renewal, of purging, very 8th house is to purge, to release, to excrete. This is going to be an amped up energy on these 2 days that I talk about at the beginning of this video. You'll also have an eccentric approach to releasing crap out of your life, you know. So you might have been handling things in a very traditional way, then along comes this invigorated energy on these 2 days, and you suddenly see a new path forward in a way you'd not known before. You get some dynamic psychic insight into, I know how I can let go of what's holding me back, what's blocking me from, you know, being reborn like the butterfly out of the cocoon. And you're going to have insights and a visionary approach, which is very Uranus, towards rebirth. So let's have an example. Just say you have been going through maybe 8th house issues with regard to sexuality. Sexuality is seen by the 8th house. And, you know, your sex life has been just non-eventful. It's been crap. The relationship with your partner hasn't been, you know, kicking ass lately. It's been really rubbish. And you're like, what do I do? And then you get a light bulb moment on these days, and you're like, I know how to reinvigorate and rebirth my sexual life, my sexual relationship. So you might, I don't know, book into a tantric sex course, or do a webinar or something in tantric lovemaking with your partner, and suddenly you've revolutionized and rebirthed your sexual relationship. Very 8th house. So that's just one way that can play out. But if there's any other blockages to an area of life that needs transforming for you, this is a day you can put energy into changing things, revolutionizing things, and emerging like the butterfly out of the cocoon of restriction. A breaking away from the ordinary, a breaking away from what's not working can occur for Virgo rising people. For lovely Libras, Libra rising people, it's going to mean a change to limitations in marriage and business partnerships. So if you are a Libra rising person, and you are not married, well, maybe there will be the opportunity for you to change that circumstance. If you're Libra rising, and this energy takes place in your 7th house, it is possible, depending on what's playing out in your natal chart, but this energy can feed into the positivity of your natal chart if it supports this happening, of attracting a relationship. Like suddenly in comes a relationship that you weren't expecting or looking for, and then there it is, suddenly out of the blue. Because Mars rules your 7th house. It's there every 2 years, so it's quite rare. So it's an important transit for Libra rising people. And Uranus is sudden out of the blue energy. Plus Uranus is just about to leave Aries, the transit of your 7th house that's been going on for 7 years, you Libra rising people. So if you haven't had an invigoration of your marriage or your committed love life, you may very well receive it on these 2 days, because Uranus is in the process right now of giving his last bit of oomph, his last hurrah to the matters of your 7th house. So on these 2 days that I spoke about at the beginning of the video, these are days when something might manifest for you regarding a committed life partnership. There will be a change to any energy blocks regarding business partnership and regarding relational partnership. You are going to be more energized about these things. You'll be more enthusiastic about your business relationships and how things are working in a business that you might have, or a company that you might be running. You're going to have more energy and spontaneity to put into those realms, into your marriage, into finding a partner. You're going to be a bit more eccentric. You'll get some light bulb, psychic downloads about how to invigorate things, how to energize things in these realms of business, in these realms of relationship and partnership in general with others. and there's going to be a breaking away from the ordinary. So maybe you've always done things in your marriage in a certain way, or you've always done things in your business in a certain way. Well, this conjunction, it's going to say, no more. Let's try this and see how that works. Let's spice up our relationship by maybe doing some sort of kooky webinar together, or let's go on a very highly charged energetic retreat together. Maybe we'll go whitewater rafting together on this day. Very Mars energy is to sort of do something that's full on, and you go and do something energetically full on together, and it reinvigorates your relationship with your partner, or in a business sense as well. Maybe if you run a business, you might decide to connect with your other business partners in a really eccentric way. Like you might go and do a rock climbing afternoon together for your biannual managers meeting, or for your business partnership fortnightly meeting, or whatever it happens to be. But you could do something really kooky, really left of center, that actually is invigorating and empowering, and it's about breaking away from the ordinary. That's going to spice things up for business partnerships and for marriage partnerships. So for you Libra people, this could be a very, very interesting couple of days. Thank you everybody for being so patient with my coughing, my asthma and bad lungs. Scorpio rising. This puts Mars conjunct Uranus down in the 6th house. So this energy for Scorpio rising people, it's going to mean a change of any limitations or any blockages or things that are not empowering you regarding your health, regarding your well-being, regarding your daily work and routines and the way you serve the world. So if you Uranus, to be quite frank, finds it really hard to be in the 6th house, because Uranus is about rebelliousness, doing things without structure in its own way, and it really struggles in the 6th house. So for Scorpio rising people, you might have had a really difficult 7-year period of frustration with your daily routines because of the transit of Uranus that's been going on here for 7 years. And now along comes Mars conjunct Uranus, kaboom, invigoration, changes to the limitations and blockages you may have been feeling for 7 years with regard to your daily work, your daily routines. You might change jobs. You might spice up your daily work. So instead of just being a straight town planner in a government job, suddenly you might get the opportunity to manage the company's website as well on the side, which really invigorates you, Uranus's internet. So you might get the opportunity to change the limitations, the blockages, the feelings of routine and boredom that you may have been experiencing with your daily routines, with your health routines, and with the way you are serving the world. It's an energy boost that's going to be sudden, out of the blue, like a light bulb moment, spontaneous. So it's going to come quickly and be quite energized and enthusiastic within you. It's also going to give you eccentric approaches to things with your daily routines. So you might be inspired to seek out some sort of energy healing. 6th house is connected to our health and well-being. So, maybe you've been seeing a doctor for years about bad lungs, something like that. And then along comes this transit for Scorpio rising, and you're like, no, I've got an eccentric, out of the blue psychic download. I need to go and see a Reiki practitioner, or I need to go and do a spiritual dance program that's going to get the energy moving in me, that's going to, shift this blockage in my lungs, for example. You'll have kooky, left of center, alternative ideas for healing and eccentric approaches to well-being that will actually benefit you quite well, because I don't know if you found this, Scorpio people, but this transit of Uranus through your 6th house will have brought you over the last 6 years, the ability to heal through left of center alternative measures. If you haven't done that or looked into that already over the last 6 years, then you've got until the 6th of March to make the most of that Uranus capacity for fabulous healing through alternative means. Okay, beautiful. Sagittarius rising people puts this energy in the 5th house, where the first and the 5th house are trining one another. And so you're going to be experiencing a change to any limitations in your life and blockages that you may have felt over the last little while regarding love, regarding romance, regarding children, regarding pleasure, fun, joy, and where you are garnering and your happiness in life. So for Sagittarius rising, you're going to be able at this time to remove any blockages to happiness. You're going to have the energy to do so. It's going to happen spontaneously. You'll have eccentric approaches to creativity that are really left of center, things you haven't thought of before, unique, diverse, innovative kind of approaches to the way you express yourself in the world, to your love life, to your romantic life, to your parenting, or perhaps not parenting, but more to your appreciation of your children's eccentricity. So you might notice on these 2 days that I spoke of at the beginning of the video that your children are more eccentric. Your children are more creative. They're more kooky. They're more left of center. So revel in that. It's a beautiful thing. We should encourage people to be more themselves, more authentic, more real. And your own creative expression is going to be more authentic, more real, more energized, more empowered, more spontaneous on these days. You might get a new idea for an art project. You might get a great new idea for a novel you might like to write. You might be inspired to make a film or do some sort of costume design or something really creative and is self-expressive. And you might also be able to break away from ordinary, boring kind of approaches to these things as well. Maybe you've been somebody whose idea of romance is a candlelit dinner every month, and you're a bit religious and predictable with it. Although if you're Sagittarius rising, you're probably not likely to be very predictable with romance. But this is just an illustration. Maybe you've got a predictable approach to romance in your life, and then along comes this energized, invigorated, kooky, creative approach from Mars conjunct Uranus, and you suddenly realize that, wow, let's try a different approach to romance that's spontaneous, that is enthusiastic, that is really something left of center, and you surprise your partner with a hot air balloon ride, or you hire a motorbike for an afternoon and head up into the mountains. You do something that is really not in your ordinary boring approach. Not that candlelit dinners are boring, believe me, I'd love a candlelit dinner. But you can really energize your approach and creativity to romance with this gorgeous energy that plays out. And for you guys, Valentine's Day will be one of these days, so you stand to actually invigorate your love life quite beautifully this Valentine's Day with this transit. You'll really break away from the ordinary way of doing Valentine's Day if you're already in a relationship, or maybe you'll be inspired and energized and have the courage, because Mars is courage, to actually approach that person and tell them that you love them, tell them that you're interested in them, ask them on a date. Capricorn rising. Look at all that energy in Capricorn at the moment. My goodness. You're doing very well, you Capricorn rising people. It is a full-on time of year, or time of cycle time for you guys. But this energy of Mars and Uranus, the conjunction, is going to be happening in your 4th house of heritage, roots, lineage, traditions, family, and actual physical home. So you can experience a change to any limitations that might have been taking place in your family life. Now, the transit of Uranus through the sign of Aries for you guys over the past 7 years has probably brought a lot of upheaval to your family relationships. It may have brought divorce either into your life or into the lives of parents or relatives. This is just what Uranus does when he transits the 4th house, and I do talk about that in other videos that I've done. Your parenting might have been a bit of a roller coaster ride over the last 7 years, but all these things are going to receive a boost of positivity because Mars rules your 4th house, and so there's going to be light bulb moments in how you can deal with these things better, in how you can change these limitations, how you can sort of break free of any kind of restrictions that have been unfolding regarding your place of living, regarding your parenting, regarding your family line, you know, the dynamics of the relationships with your parents yourself or your grandparents, etc., your family lineage. You're going to be more energized about breaking these limitations, about breaking away from the ordinary way of doing things with regards to your parents, with regards to your parenting, with regards to your home. So let's just say you've been thinking, oh, look, we really need an extra bedroom. I need to renovate the house. Well, on these 2 days that I speak of at the beginning of the video, when this transit occurs, you are going to have light bulb moments and insights that are going to show you how you can break away from limitations with your home. You'll get the idea, I know how we can make that reno happen, how we can get that extra bedroom in a way that's really going to work well. You'll be able to configure the plan, you know, or get an idea for maybe purchasing a bungalow to add on to the house, or you'll have really left of center quirky approaches to manifesting what you need to with regard to your home, your family lineage, and the community even that you live in, which is seen by the 4th house as well. So there's going to be, let's just quickly go through it again for you Capricorn rising people, changes to limitations that can unfold. Energy boosts in these areas, you know, enthusiasm in these areas, light bulb moments and insights that are invigorated by this conjunction, and the ability to break away from ordinary thinking patterns regarding 4th house things, to break away from what you may have thought is what's expected and how you do things. Lots of change and sort of stirring up of 4th house energy for you on these 2 days. So, getting to the last couple now. Aquarius rising, gorgeous aqua people. This is going to see change and invigoration, breakage of bond, of limitations occurring in your 3rd house. And so this is regarding communications, learning, teaching, small business. If you run a small business, this is definitely for you. So any limitations that you may have been feeling lately regarding your ability to communicate well with others, or maybe you've had, you know, been frustrated by advertising campaigns that haven't been working, or marketing approaches that just feel like a waste of time and money that aren't really doing it. You are going to, when Mars conjuncts Uranus, get a poof of power, invigoration, insight, spontaneity, maybe even more eccentric, quirky, creative, kooky approaches to doing these things. If you're a teacher, you're going to have a more eccentric approach to communicating what you need to teach your students. If you are a business owner, you're going to know more how you can energize your business, invigorate your business. You'll be enthusiastic about doing so. You'll have the energy to do so and the insights and psychic wisdom to know how to make your business blossom more. If you're in advertising and marketing, your ideas at this time are going to be very, almost from other realms, you know, inspired creativity. And there's going to be a real breaking away from the ordinary approaches to learning. So maybe you've always learnt through repetition, through, rote kind of, writing of lists and then putting it on the toilet wall and going through it every time you go through the toilet. Well, you're going to break away from those ordinary processes of learning on these 2 days, and you'll have an invigorated new approach. Maybe you might write a song with, whatever it is you need to learn, and that song gets in your head, and then you're really, empowered by the knowledge that it brings you. You can repeat the song when you need to rather than just trying to remember. Creative, quirky approaches to remembering, to learning, to thinking are going to be very much enhanced on this 2-day transit that I spoke of at the beginning of the video. You're going to have a more eccentric approach to learning. You're going to break free of bonds, break away from the ordinary regarding learning, teaching, small businesses, how you make your own money. The desire to make your own money might actually be increased at this time, because Mars is desire. Mars is our passion. So you might find that you have more of a passion at this time to make your own money, and your approach to making money is eccentric and brilliant. There's a release of limitations to learning, to making money through your own means, and to communication. So very invigorated, visionary period for Aquarius rising people. And if you are Aquarius rising, your modern ruling planet will be trining for the last time your ascendant sign. So here is Aries. It is, sorry, not trining, sextiling Aquarius at the moment. And up until the 6th of March, that's going to be the case. So it will have been quite an invigorating 7-year period for you because of this natural sextile that's having been made to your first house, and you're in the final stages of the benefits of that before Uranus moves into what is for Aquarius people the 4th house transit for the next 7 years. Pisces rising. Beautiful, patient Pisces who always wait till the end. God bless you for your patience and your ability to wait till the end every time. We love you, Pisces. I love you. And Pisces energy is going to see Mars Uranus conjunction in the 2nd house. Now, for the last 7 years, Uranus has been transiting your 2nd house, and this has probably brought you a bit of a roller coaster ride with regard to resources, money, income. Right now, Uranus is at the last degrees of Aries of this 2nd house placement. So you might be experiencing sort of a last final impact of, oh my God, my income, my possessions, my material assets are like a yo-yo at the moment. I don't know where stability is. That's what Uranus does. Causes us to have more faith and trust in the universe. So you may be experiencing that. And then as Uranus leaves on the 6th of March, stability can come again in this area, and you might find everything settles and everything solidifies, and the roller coaster you've been on, you receive some relief. So that is something to look forward to. But with this transit on the 2 days that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can expect to receive maybe some unexpected resources that come your way. Maybe you get a pay rise, maybe you get an offer of a new job, maybe you get some new ideas for how you can make money, some quirky insights to what you can do to create extra money or to create new projects that bring in new financial resources for you, quirky ways to gather resources, to store resources, to manage the resources that you've got. There's an ability with this transit on these 2 days to throw off financial limitations that may have been there for a while for you guys. So maybe you felt, I'll use my life as an example, I haven't had a regular income since I lost my job last July, my astrology has been the gift of the universe to me, and I am so grateful. But that has brought limitations to my family life. And with this transit of Mars conjunct Uranus in the second house for Pisces people, there can be a breaking away from those limitations. Suddenly you might be in a position where you've got a more steady, solid income coming in some way that's dependable now. So there can be this, like I say, changes to the limitations you've felt, the upheavals that you've felt, the blockages that have been put on you with Uranus's transit of the second house. Mars can bring energy to that. It can bring spontaneity and an eccentric approach and an invigoration to how you're making money. The breaking away from the ordinary. Maybe you've always expected that you should have a steady, solid income that's dependable and reliable, and with this transit you realize there are other ways, other means to make money that mightn't be the traditional solid approach that you've thought you always needed to have. Maybe you get a light bulb psychic download, a moment of insight regarding what you can do. You might find a new stream of revenue, a new way to make ends meet, or something you can sell that you hadn't thought of before. It's very dynamic energy. So the main key influences for Pisces rising people are a change to the limitations of your resources as they currently stand, an energy boost, enthusiasm, some get up and go regarding making money, gathering resources, how you're dealing with your material possessions. You'll be more enthusiastic and energized about those sorts of things. You can also have quirky ideas and insights, eccentric approaches to what you do that can stand you in good stead for the next few weeks up until Uranus leaves this sign for the last time, probably in your entire lifetime. It's never going to be back there again. And the final component is a breaking away from ordinary approaches to things, ordinary ideas about how you make money and what type of possessions you have. You might be inspired to start collecting some sort of new art, or historical books, or maybe a car collection, or some sort of coin collection, like some new quirky interest regarding the acquisition of material possessions can manifest for Pisces rising as well with this on these couple of days. So pay attention, observe what happens on these 2 days. How does it play out for you? And is there anything that occurs in your life that fits this mold, fits this bill, that is part of this quite dynamic and invigorating transit? So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being patient with my lung problems and all my coughing and my breathing. I'm very, very grateful for the compassion and the love and the kindness of the majority of people who view Lada's channel. So thank you one and all for being that beautiful supportive network that we have on Lada's channel. I am continuing to do readings. If you would like one, then please by all means contact me. They will be in a similar vein to how this video has gone, with perhaps a bit of coughing, but generally this is the standard you'll receive until my health restores itself. And I just want to wish each and every person, regardless of whether you're in a love relationship or not, the most glorious Valentine's Day. If you are not in a relationship, bring love to yourself, bring joy to yourself, bring care and tenderness to your own world, to your own life. And if you are with a partner, then may it be a day when you are reminded to love and care and show devotion to the person who is the significant other in your life. May it be a day of love. I love to shower love and affection on my children on this day, because I see Valentine's Day as a day when we are just generally reminded that love is so important, regardless of who it's with and what dynamic type relationship it is. It's a really important reminder that love is really what makes the world worth living in. So shower those you love with affection and care on Valentine's Day, and I hope each and every one of you get to receive it yourself. I'll just close with a very short little prayer. Energy of love in the great universe, in the great cosmos. Thank you for love. Thank you for care, support, and thank you for each person who's in our lives that brings love, that brings blessing, that brings friendship, that brings happiness and joy into our life. May we appreciate those people this week. May we know this invigorated energy in our lives, and may we use it to our best advantage and to the blessing of our global community as a whole. Thank you for love. Amen. Thank you and God bless.